ready, get set, go live. Everybody's piling in too. And you're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Can you believe it? After all this time, we're on 29 shows, and next time it'll be 30. We are on a roll. We're like professional old timers on this. Just getting started, aren't we? And welcome to another show, and my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Welcome.
Welcome, and greetings and blessings to all our dear friends out there. And we continue to pray every day that you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge and the healing from the universe. And we hope everybody's doing well. So thanks for coming out.
Yes, and tonight we got another fun-filled show with history and common sense and mystifying myths and legends from wherever and beyond. But anyway, somehow it'll all fit together, and the card that you picked tonight, put it all together at the end. Just like that. I am sure of it.
We'll see.
Yeah, it always seems to work that way, doesn't it?
Yep.
And how are things in your world?
Oh, fair to middle. We're in the middle of summertime. It was 92.5 in the shade today. So we're full-fledged into summer down here.
Oh, don't worry.
You know, humidity's up, and this is the time of year that I don't like. But anyway, it is what it is.
I guess so. Well, here the snow is melting pretty rapidly. It's getting up to 50, 60 degrees during the day, and the snow is melting. So hooray! I'll be able to plant my garden. It finally melted all the snow off the garden today. And I just have the big snowbank that's in the back of the house that's covering where I park my truck. And soon it'll be good times ahead. Can't wait for the weekend. Have off this weekend, no working late, and going to bed early and doing a show on Saturday. Believe it or not, I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do this weekend. So if anybody wants to come on and talk about stuff, let me know now. Well, not right now, but send me an email. I got lots of things. I want to do some more Atlanta stuff. We got some other. I got so many things in my head I'd like to do. It's just which one am I going to do this weekend? But hopefully I'll think of something. Don't worry, I never disappoint. Elderberry is in the house, and he says 51 degrees here, wearing a jacket. Yes, same here. Nicholas Burnett, he's in the house. He's great. He says it's story time. Susie Q has come to join us. She don't have grandkids this weekend, or no, it's a weekday. Yeah, grandkids are probably home. Delaney Pearl Jones, she's got more downloads and spirit videos. So that'll be good to see. And we'll have a good show with her again. I am sure of it. But anyway, got a lot of stuff going on. I'm thinking we're gonna tie everything together with that Atlantis and Tartaria, and I'm hoping maybe we can get a little bit of Australia thought in there too. So maybe we can sneak Mandy Moo or Gaza Cav or Jules on, to fill in the blanks. And there's Renee Hutchinson. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you're here too. And Linda Brooks. Big hello and shout out to you. Let's see, what else do we got? Okay, so tonight we're going to do a little bit of talking about Crazy Horse. Again, I found out some more information about Crazy Horse, and I want to bring that to you through this book called American Conversations, Indian with Chasing Deer Prophecies. This one here, really good book. Talks about this young guy, and he is talking to his grandfather and getting all kinds of good information. And I picked out something, and it was that caught my eye, and it said prophecies of coming times. And I'll just, push through all the mumbo jumbo stuff, I guess, that doesn't really add up to a whole lot. But there was stuff in here that made me giggle and thought about how things really were. And I'll just give you the thing.
I love your technical term, mumbo jumbo. I'm sorry, I'm kind of stuck on that at the moment.
Yes. So to give you the heads up on where the story is going, is he's taking notes. This is about John and his grandfather chasing deer, and his grandfather chasing deer is, all Indian, and he likes to live the Indian ways. And John is the grandson, and John is living or come to visit his grandfather, and he's asking about what the future brings, and he's been doing all the things that his grandfather's asked, and that he's ready for his lessons or his download today from grandfather, and he's talking about how he wakes up in the morning and he's barefoot and he must be living outside, and he's wearing a trade blanket, and that he brought from the cabin, and he's living on at the edge of a base of a tree, and so he's talking to a bird and asking the bird about stuff, and a real bird, and he says, okay, this is where it says, and it kind of gets funny in here. And he says, John, grandfather, you've told me prophecies about coming of the white man and what was done to your people. They were right on the mark. And I understand from yesterday's discussion that the past is not really past, and that your people and their wisdom are still oppressed and denied. This morning I woke up before dawn, and I've been thinking about what personal choices I would have to make to create a different world, a better future. In fact, I was speaking a little bit to a little dove about it, if you can believe that. Chasing deer. This is his grandfather. I better send you back to civilization soon, grandson, for you are turning into an Indian. No white woman will want you. Talking to trees and birds and bathing naked in the icy streams, but you know what, that I am kidding you, grandson. Of course, what you did, did the winged one speak to you? And he says, about what you said, grandfather, how can I go back and live in my culture like nothing has changed when my understanding of life is totally different? If I want to live in a world where the idea of all my relations is a reality, not just a noble statement, then I have to make my life consistent that with that belief. That's going to require some changes, and the way I choose to live may seem strange to other people. Maybe you're right. No white woman or no woman will want me. And I thought that was really interesting, because the contrast when the grandfather's living like that, and the grandson goes and he's saying, oh, now that I've lived this way and I want to change the world, I'm not the same kind of person. That other world is totally different. You know what I'm saying? It's totally different. Anyway, his grandfather goes on and he talks about some stuff, and he says about the prophecies, and then he says, I'm not sure, grandfather, I think I remember hearing he's talking about, his grandfather talks about a man called Crazy Horse, and he says, the grandson says something about Crazy Horse. I think I've heard of him. And this is where it continues off from last week. It surely is, grandson. When the names of my people get recorded by the whites, sometimes not only part of the name is used, or it may be even changed. Now, his crazy horse was of my father's people, the Ogallala Lakota. So, you know how we always call him Crazy Horse? It wasn't Crazy Horse. It was his crazy horse. David, I got a question for you about that.
All right.
Does that mean, that change the meaning of it? To me, I guess it does. I mean, instead of, because now you're adding a whole new word in there, and each word has a lot of meaning. So his crazy horse versus crazy horse. Because I always thought crazy horse meant like he was nuts, or he was, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. But didn't you say that Crazy Horse, the original, was his father, and he gave his
but
name.
his father was.
All right, so say that again. Ask me that question again.
His father was his Crazy Horse, and then he became his Crazy Horse. And it goes on here. His father gave him his name, and he changed his name to Worm.
But I think that might be my point about that is that it might be as a designation. Okay. Like, I'm the junior, I'm the third, I'm Richard the fourth, or whatever, so it sounds to me like it could be a designation.
Yes, yeah, that could be. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Not necessarily do I understand what they mean by it, but to them it would be like, the second or something anyway. But I think that's what it would be.
Okay,
I would, be willing to stand corrected.
Well, yeah, well,
it just sounds like it with other things that I've heard.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted to get your opinion on it. Not that you know any more than I do or whatever, but it is good to get an opinion, and that's what we're here to do. Is talk. You might have good information on it, and if I don't ask, I'll never know, will I?
Right.
And maybe somebody else out there knows more about it. Like if Nina ever comes on, she knows. I'm sure she'll tell us. Okay. He says, okay, of my father's people, the Ogallala Lakota, settle back and be comfortable because I am going to tell you his prophecy in the content of his life and what was happening to his people at that time. It is a long and interesting story. In the year of 1871, I'm going to sum some of this up because a lot of this we know, but it kind of gets back to the real tooth and nail about things. In the year of 1871, during the early part of the moon of making fat, do you know what that means? Or making fat. I don't get it.
Making
but it says
fat or fast?
Fat, F-A-T, fat.
Oh, no.
It says during the early part of the moon of making fat, what you would call June. Why would you call it making fat?
It's probably when all things are coming in. You might be rendering, you hunted the buffalo herd and you're rendering fat, literally,
Oh, okay. Okay. So anyway,
there's certain times of the months, if you watch the Old Farmer's Almanac where the different planets and everything are in different days, my doctor and all the old timers would say, if you cut a pig, meaning you're castrating them, if you cut a pig on a day where the signs are wrong, he said my doctor said that pig will bleed to death. And it's just because of the day of the month, the time, wherever the solar thing is. And she was like, oh no, you need to check the almanac before you go start doing stuff like that. So, but anyway.
Yeah, and like that's cool. So anyway, I'm reading this because of the fact that most of the time when we read about these guys like Crazy Horse and stuff, all we can ever think about in our heads is them being these crazy Indians out there killing people and starting wars and stuff like that. But the beginning of this gives you a whole new picture about this guy. And okay, his Crazy Horse was ill at ease, yet it was the time of peace with the whites, a time of bounty, and for a while still life was able to be lived much as the Lakota had for thousands of years. His home life with his wife, Black Shawl, was a source of great
Uh-oh, did we lose Robert? We might have lost Robert. There's been some atmospheric we had an X flare from the sun, and it has done some things to the ionosphere today. I think he's stuck. And last time this happened, um, I I just tried to keep on going, and he'll come back on. So, but anyway, this will give me an opportunity to tell this little story. And as he was talking about Crazy Horse, one of the things that I was remembering from last week, I was like, I met a descendant, supposedly like a great grandson of Crazy Horse in Tullahoma, Tennessee, at a powwow there around Veterans Day in November of 2005. And I've talked about this before, but how he came up, and I was doing puppets and storytelling, and I was there for my thing. It was cold. There was sleet, going by during the daytime. I think the high for the daytime was like about 28 degrees. It was cold. And here's this man who maybe came up to my chin. I'm about 5'10" and a half or 11. So he was 5'5", 5'6", a stocky man, but strong. And his face was like that of pictures of Crazy Horse. And he was, when he smiled, it was genuine. And he was in his 70s or 80s back then. And he had come all the way from Pine Ridge, the reservation out there in South Dakota, all the way across the states to Tennessee because of this powwow, to bring a message from the grandfathers, as he put it. And there were many of the different native folks that were vendors and things and dancers and such. And they were like, some of them were like, he claims he's a medicine man, and he claims, and some of them were like, well, there might be some truth that he really is related to a Crazy Horse, but and some of these guys just want to put on a big air. Well, now this guy had hitchhiked like 2,500 miles or whatever it is to get there on his own at his age with nothing but what he had on his back. And he had come to try to tell people to join together, that the elders had spoken. He and some of the other elders there. Now, the folks from Pine Ridge, they were like, well, we don't take much credence in this guy, and he's always talking about this or that. But here's the thing. This gentleman, and I wish I could remember his name, but I cannot. He was very explicit. He said, I'm not here to get money. I'm not here to have anyone pity me or whatever. I'm here on a mission. And the mission is, not only do the native peoples need to come together because of things foreseen, and for what Crazy Horse and some of the other elders and other chiefs like Sitting Bull and so forth. And in his dream time with other shamans, it was his duty to come to Tullahoma to tell this, but we needed to get ready, and we needed to come together, and we needed to be more, there needed to be more drum. There needed to be more caring. People needed to join arms and work together. And because in the future, things were going to get really, really weird. Now, this was in 2005, maybe 2006, but I think it was in 2005. Now, that's almost 20 years ago. But from that time, I've lost my job, other things had happened. It's been getting progressively worse instead of better over these years. And, recently it's gotten really crazy and outlandish. And so the things that he sat and told me, and he looked right at me and he said, it's your job, Mr. Hawkeye. It's your job to tell the stories, especially to the young, And it's your job to be able to give people, tell them the old stories and give them hope in the future, because there's so many people. Now this is in 2005. Now this was his prophecy about me for the future. Okay. And he said, and I was just standing there going, I didn't know what to say. And he said, but you will be telling the stories, you will be telling the legends, you will be as an elder. And I was like, I was in my 50s then, right? So I was like, well, okay, I hope I'm still going to be doing puppets. I hope I'll still be telling stories. I hope. And so we talked several times. He watched me tell stories. He watched the reaction with the young kids and the older people. And he, after one of the shows that I did, every 20 minutes or so, I do a little 5 or 10 minute story. So that way, you know, people come by, and if a group of kids came by and they wanted me to tell a story, unless I had just finished one, I'd say, you know, give me 5 minutes and y'all come back and bring your friends. And they would, but that'd give me a chance to rest my voice and whatever. But anyway, but to the point though, with this crazy horse descendant, he was like, we need to strive for peace, you know, and brothers and sisters need to come together, and we need to come together with Mother Earth, and we need to come together with the drum. And he said, that's why I've came over 2,000 miles to be here to tell folks, you know, we need to get together. Now, at our conversations, I had my own booth and everything set up with all the puppets. So standing out of the wind and whatever, he would, you know, come and sit and stand and chat with me. While other folks, one gentleman that I knew came up to me and he goes, "What's that old buzzard trying to sell you?" And I said, "Nothing. We just chatting." And, you know, I try to find out different things from different people about stories and customs. And, you know, it's always good for me that someone will take the time to stop and explain things to me, or tell me a story, or explain something, you know? And so, because I knew where this other person was headed with that, in that, you know, he's just a dime store shaman, thinks he's a medicine man. But the words that he spoke were so straight and honest. And, you know, after what he told me, now I'm not traveling anymore and doing shows, but I am on YouTube, and we are doing this storytelling time to try to inform people and continue the tradition of telling the legends and telling the stories and discussing them, you know. And so as I think back on what he discussed with me and how we spoke, and how much he told me, it is your mission, you know, to continue this. And I was like, but I don't know how. And he goes, you know, Great Spirit will show you, you know, if understand that this is what your mission is. Now, I've had people over many years tell me that I was a Heyoke, that my spirit was a Heyoke. And he agreed. He said, and besides that, he said, you're a Heyoke. And I was like, oh, no. Now, unless he'd been talking to all these other people over the last 30 years, how did he come to the realization or whatever that somehow I was a Heyoke? But there's great medicine in the Heyoke, because when people are sad, Heyoke is to lift them up. When people are too happy and too giddy, it's the Heyoke's business to keep everybody level. It's the leveler. And so I have tried to, like, okay, if that's who you think I am, all right. And I've tried to deny it for many years, but I absolutely am grateful that when he told me, there was something about it. There was a look in his eye. There was this, I want to say, a cold steel look that just for me, this camera having a conversation and the look in his eye was, there was so much power in what he said. But he was saying a lot of things about a lot of people. But when I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to meet this gentleman, and some folks said, yeah, he really is a relative from Crazy Horse, and yeah, his mother and this and that, and yeah, he probably is, and but the thing is he wasn't trying to lie to anybody. I couldn't understand why there was so much animosity about this gentleman who had came a long way to just tell people it was time for us to seriously get together. We needed to start now because future events were gonna, and that his prophecies to everyone have been coming true. And I wish to goodness that I could remember the gentleman's name, but he was from the Pine Ridge area, and I was surprised at his message in that he wanted all peoples to come together. And over the years, I have noticed that the native peoples are some of the most divided peoples on this planet as far as getting along with one another. Oh my goodness gracious. And I have listened and thought about what he said all those years ago, and thought about, native cultures clash a lot. And so this tribe thinks you should come into the circle from the north. This side, these certain tribes from a different area say that you should come into the circle from the east. And I was just about to wonder if poor old Robert hadn't got lost on the prairie out there somewhere. We was going to have to send riders out to see if he was stuck in a melting pile of snow. But so I think the medicine that he was trying to bring to the people, and the fact that after all these years, there are still a lot of these tribes that are infighting amongst themselves, and they just need to stop that mess. Well, he's not a real shaman. He's not a real medicine man. He's just a card carrying medicine man. And anybody who is trying to bring peace, and he wasn't asking for money, he wasn't asking for donations. He simply wanted to tell people it's time to get together. And so the people who were there to get money and to make money at the powwow, they were the ones cutting this guy down. So I've wondered over the years, I think his message was right on. So, hi, Robert.
I'm back. Sorry about that. It happens. I'll blame it on it's North Dakota and the Gremlins. How about that? It's always something. But yeah, I was listening to your story about that, and that's the thing. Maybe he was, how you always say that people show up and how should I say this? I don't know, but sometimes people show up out of the blue like a messenger.
Yep.
And was he really a real person? I mean, he was real to you and everybody around you, but nobody really knew where he came from or who he was or things like that. Maybe he was there to give everybody a message.
No, they knew who he was. There were some
did.
folks from Pine Ridge, so they knew him. But the thing is that his claim was that he and other medicine men, who sit and smoke and have smoked the pipe, and in these visions, and he was probably, because he was in his 70s at least, I believe, that of those elders, he was asked to do the traveling and to bring this message. So, but there was all these younger folks who were like between 30 and 50. They were like, everybody says they're a medicine man, and you can get them down at the local tribal store for $10. I got an uncle that'll make you one for $5,
Yeah.
make you an official medicine man. And so they were joking around, but this guy wasn't peddling nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was the real thing.
he was a real guy. His intentions, I was like, and here he is stopping to talk to me.
Yeah.
I'm obviously a white dude,
Yeah. Yeah.
And he spent a lot of time. He would stop by during the 2 days that we were there. And, how you doing, Mr. Dave? And he'd always salute me and give me this little sort of a bow and a nod. And he would stand and hold on to one of the poles and watch me do my little puppet show or story, whatever was going on. And I still feel very blessed. Whether or not, quote, he was a true medicine man or not, in my eyes, he was.
Yeah.
Because the medicine that he brought to everyone, I wish I took it to heart. Because that was the beginning of my changes.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's all you need is that right person to give you and sometimes, do you ever get like this message from somebody and then you blow it off and then years later you think about what they said and you go, wow, they were telling me something and I just didn't catch it at that point. I caught it 20 years later or whatever it was. And then now it's come to pass.
Well, I listened to this gentleman because I found it profound to be in his presence. There was just something about his heart. There was something about how he spoke. And when he put his hand on my arm, I was like, dude, there was this like energy. And, he was in a buckskin outfit, but nothing else on. But it was like 28 degrees and the wind blowing and snow going everywhere. It was horrible weather. And he's just out there. And I said, man, it's cold here. He said, you should be in South Dakota. And I was like, this is like a spring day to me. And I was, okay. But his smile, he with all the other people that he spoke with, he wasn't derogatory in any way. He was upbeat with whatever he was speaking about to whomever he was speaking. And I just found it kind of disrespectful of the other 40, 50 booth members of Native Americans and so forth that was poo-pooing him, Nah, he's just a dime store shaman. He's just a dime, yeah. But did you listen to him?
Yeah, that's the thing. Listening and looking and you can't judge a book by the cover. That's the biggest thing. And a lot of people, that's the way the world is right now. Is they're buying the fringe and go, ooh, that's beautiful, and then you bring it home and it breaks in 2 minutes, and you're like, oh well, it looked really nice. And then somebody in China's laughing all the way to the bank because they're like, they bought our garbage again because we put some fancy colors on it and some sprinkles and the little whirly thing went woo for like 2 seconds, but it's made to break. We just made it out of the cheapest plastic ever and it broke. Ha! They'll buy another one. This is true. This is absolutely true. A lot of frills, nothing hard and like they used to. Anyway, you want me to finish up here?
Yeah,
where
please. I was just really filling in.
Yeah, I know.
I'm back.
I know you do. You do a real good job. Okay, we're back to his crazy horse, his home life, and with Black Shawl. They are afraid of her. His crazy horse had become a dotting father. He loved to make his girl child giggle, tickle her with a rabbit's tail, and shaking her antelope hoof rattle. As she grew older, they played together with her favorite toys, a willow hoop painted in beautiful colors and bouncing buffalo bladder filled with stones. Even though the Lakota had suffered great losses through the warfare and dislocation, they still lived according to the old ways in a period of temporary peace. There was time for hunting, dancing, ceremonies, and occasional raid to steal some horses from the Crows. In 1868, Red Cloud had signed the Fort Laramie Treaty, but only after the Bozeman Trail forts were abandoned and the white soldiers had finally fled after Red Cloud had burned the forts Smith, Reno, and Cary to the ground. It was the first war that the United States had lost, and to what General Miles had called the best cavalry soldiers on earth, the Lakota. According to the treaty, all of South Dakota, west of the Missouri, including the sacred Black Hills, was seceded to the Lakota for as long as the river shall run and the grass shall grow. The fertile hunting grounds of the Powder River area were also named unseceded Indian Territory. This land ran from west of the Black Hills, north of the Platte River, to as far west as the summits of the Bighorn Mountains. At last, the Lakota believed that they would be left alone by the repetitious white man, but his crazy horse was troubled. When had white men ever kept a promise? His crazy horse, with an anxious mind, was swimming with questions. His heart told him that although things were peaceful now, the pale, hairy people would continue to come to the lands of the Lakota no matter what the treaty said. His previous experience with the settlers and their army told him they spoke words with a deceitful heart. Did they have no grandfathers and grandmothers to teach them? Was there no love between parents and children? What else could make them so shameless to devoid of any sense of place, any sense of honor? Who were these people, and why did the blood flow like ice in the heart through them? Each unanswerable question only raised more concerns. Why did the people invade Indian land in the first place? And where did it come from? From the east. That is all he knew. Why did they place the things of the world before the Creator? Why did they not honor the great mysterious that binds all together? Strangely enough, they even feared death. Did they have no respect for the wisdom of Grandmother Earth and the Creator? Did they not see the seasons change or gaze at the sun rising and setting? They have eyes, he lamented, but they cannot see. The more his crazy horse thought, the more he found these people bewildering and lacking in humanity. And that was what made them so frightening. They were deaf to the Creator's instructions. And you know what? When I read that, I was thrown back because, that rings out so true. I mean, even the most caring, loving person out there still exhibits some of these things.
And you know what? As you was reading that, I was getting chills up and down my spine, because those were very similar words that his descendant who spoke to me talked about. And it was about that honor among men. They didn't honor, And so in listening to you read that, I was thinking, here was this elder who had come a long way by himself. By the grace of God, he made it there and without any trouble. And they dishonored him simply because he was an elder. The message that he brought was a simple one. We need to get together. We need to pull together. And this powwow is an example. And we need to continue with brotherhood. But he was shunned even by his own kind, who were more like the white man. They had, in turn, the vendors there, a lot of them had lost their own native ways.
Yeah, they were vendors instead of natives.
Yep.
They were more about, but I mean, for the most part, a lot of them had turned to, here, I'll sell you a $5 medicine bag and you too can become a shaman, or a medicine man or whatever you want, like buying a rabbit's foot. Look, you can gain luck. But did they give that rabbit any luck? Hell no. But, he goes on to talk about the mysterious that binds all together. That was was the big thing. And you know, what about the creator? You know, why did they place things of the world before the creator? Now, we know that they didn't believe in the God of the Bible, but still, his words still ring true of whatever creator you're believing in. You know, he's saying that here, I value this because I can touch it, have it, and use it more than anything else. And we're all guilty of that. I don't care who you are. We're all kind of guilty of that, especially in these days.
In varying degrees, you know, I mean,
yeah.
And there are some of them native folks who I swear to God, I'm like, you know, I live a cleaner life than you do. I mean, you live in an apartment, you do this and that, and I live on the land and I got a little farm. And, you know, I would have thought it'd be opposite. I'd be the one living in the apartment. And I mean, you know, and I've thought back at times, and there was an old Indian who had gotten sick. He was not a medicine man, but an elder of the tribe. Out west somewhere. So they finally convinced him, and the shaman said, you got to go to the hospital or you're going to die. I can't fix you. So whatever it was, gallstones or something, you know, they went in for the operation. He was like on the 5th floor. And so the day after the operation, he's up holding on to his little pole with the IV and dancing. And the nurse comes in, she goes, what are you doing? And he says, I'm giving thanks to Mother Earth, and I'm dancing and in honor of being healed and for the doctor. And she goes, but we're on the 5th floor. And he goes, it doesn't matter. But as long this building is made of things from Mother Earth, and as long as I can dance, but the higher up I go, it's harder to hear the heartbeat. So folks who are disconnected all the time from Mother Earth, other than walking back and forth to their car, don't have the same kind of connection that other people do. You know, it's just a fact of it. It isn't good or bad or whatever, but it is a fact of life.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Okay, I'm going to go on a little bit more. I got a couple more paragraphs here, but it says, why did they ceaselessly search for the yellow stones, gold, of grandmother as if crazed and possessed? Yeah, they're crazed and possessed for gold. Why did they kill women and children, even when peace had been made with them, as they did to Black Kettle's people at Sand Creek? What matter of men so lacking in manhood was senselessly accept the follow and the orders from another to kill and maim? These were not men at all. So how can one deal with people so devoid of spirit, so full of lies and hate? They must be stopped, but how? His crazy horse was not about to allow his people to be herded into a reservation, and had happened the way it happened to so many other tribes, even the nearby Santi Lakota. He had seen the devastating effects of reservation life. The Iowa, the Sac, the Fox, and the Potawatomis, and the Mandans, and others were hardly Indians any longer. They had become prisoners of the white man, begging for food, wearing his clothing, being told that their sacred ways were wrong, and being forced to worship a Christian God, the very one whom Wasichu, a disparaging Lakota word for the white man, meaning greedy ones, prayed to for destruction of his Indian people. No death was preferable. The white man's way was a fate to be avoided at any cost. His crazy horse wondered how he was to protect the people. He decided to go to Bear Butte, the people's sacred mountain, for a Hapachawmipi, or a cry for a vision. This is where we talked about the vision last week. So he went on a vision quest. So anyway, you know, that brings us back to where we were before. Anyway, so the point is look at, I mean, I guess if this was your land and then you seen what came in, and here's these people and they're crazed over a piece of metal, and that you're finding in the like flexes and the pieces, a little piece of whatever in the bottom of a stream or in a side of a hill, and you're digging for it, and you're ready to kill for it. And then when the army says go kill everybody, you just go out and do it. Who does those things?
That's exactly. And I was thinking also back to the shaman I met, because he and the elders at Pine Ridge, they had all smoked the pipe asking for a vision. As you're reading this, I'm going, oh my God, this has been 20 years ago that this guy told me these things and what these elders saw, and holy goodness. But many of the native folks, in a lot of ways, have become a shadow of themselves. They live in two worlds, as the natives would say, and those who have been in white man's world too long, some of them have been there, and Great Spirit has awakened them and brought them back over to the other side. And at one of the powwows I was at down here, I noticed that, people were just different. I couldn't explain what it was, but the vendors, a lot of them were just different. This one guy, for example, I was buying a gift for my friend, and I said, I like this or that one. He goes, well, just take them over there and let her see them. Now, this was like $120 worth of merchandise. And he goes, just take it over there and let her pick which one she likes. And I was like, well, you want me to leave a down payment in it? He goes, no, you'll be back. I mean, that's the kind of attitude difference.
Yeah.
Versus, no, you need to leave me a deposit or something.
Yeah.
Which I was willing to do. But so we should heed the words that Crazy Horse gave, because it was repeated by his great grandson.
Yeah.
To me, it was. And to other people, I mean, he traveled around and did it at powwows. It wasn't just only me and him that had conversation. He was given time to be able to speak to all who were present. So, 1,000, 2,000 people. Wow. But so anyway, to lose your freedom because of the white man. The other thing I wanted to bring up, they always blamed the natives for scalping. When scalping started, when they put a bounty on Indians, and they got $1 for every scalp they brought in. Yeah. Because it meant a dead Indian. Yeah. And so when they found their own kind being scalped, that's when they started doing it. The reason Native Americans became so vicious was because white man started it.
Yeah, this is true, because they were more interested in cooping, clunk them with a stick, things like that.
Yeah, and their battles, you might have got a broke arm or a head bash, but they weren't necessarily in it for the kill. And white man brought a viciousness I don't think the native peoples really had before. They had to become vicious in order to survive. They had to, kill a whole wagon train because somebody went into their village and massacred all the women and children and old folks while they were off on a buffalo hunt.
Yep.
And it happened too frequent,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think I read last week about the Crazy Horse, and he was telling his troops, he says to the other Indians, hey, don't go out there and coop, do as the white man does. And, it's all kill, don't coop, no cooping, get you killed cooping, you need to go out and just do like the white man, become like them in order to beat them. And so anyway, so he goes to Bear Butte, right? This is where he traveled to. And with him, he carried only a few things. He had to climb up this Bear Butte, which was a real tall butte. I guess it was hard to get up. It was very steep and dangerous journey. Okay. And on top of Bear Butte is where the voices whisper to you. It says here, the voices whisper to you through the needles of the pines, meaning of your life is what it's to be. So he carried with him only a few things: the flags of the 4 directions, his sacred pipe and tobacco of Kinkernick, and a red willow, a buffalo robe, and some sage, and a little food for the spirits. From the summit of a beautiful and glorious world could be seen teeming with life, as grandmother Earth and Klushka would have it. I don't know what that means. A blue sky. Okay, we'll skip down here. So Crazy Horse made a sacred circle with his tobacco. He covered the insides of the circle with sage and placed the flags of the 4 directions in all the respective places: black to the west, white to the north, yellow to the east, and red to the south. He left his breechcloth and the food that he had brought for the spirits outside the sacred circle, carrying only his buffalo robe, his sacred pipe, and tobacco inside. So there you go. So that's how they were doing their ritual. Let's skip down here, grandfather.
And
blah, blah, blah.
interestingly, he took nothing but himself.
Yes.
I mean, naked to the world, he took only himself, and nothing adorned him, kind of thing. Just, that's what it means. You don't take anything with you into this great circle, especially if you're really serious about it, because they can contain energies of things. So even your clothes,
Yeah. So he stripped down to nothing, and not even just the skivvies, just nothing, even the loincloth.
That's right.
That's
because
pretty...
it's to be one only with the spirit. So
yeah. It says, as his Crazy Horse was about to begin anew with his prayers, he hesitated, crying to Wankatonka from deep within his spirit, that while he had cried to the 7 directions, to the 7 sacred circles, what were the circles to come, and the 2 remaining circles that remained unspoken. This broke with all tradition, and he knew it. But his heart was crying to see beyond. The great hoop of the people was being torn and shredded by their encounters with the white man. He knew that these were desperate times. Again, he prayed to the 7 directions, ending with the great mysterious, and again, the great courage and confidence he had asked about the circles to follow. His Crazy Horse continued with his 7 direction prayers until the sun set and the cool air of Bear Butte began to envelop him. He wrapped himself in his buffalo robe and lay upon the sage to rest. Periodically, he would arise and repeat his prayers in this manner. His Crazy Horse spent his first day upon Bear Butte crying for a vision with a heavy heart for his people. At sunrise, with the brilliant colors of life surrounding him, the sun's light circling the earth, he knew that Wankatonka was speaking to him. He waited, he prayed with a deep intensity, as all the circles of the earth and the sky were pulsating in the very core of his being. His hunger and thirst fled. Thus he continued until most of the 3rd day had passed. Now he's been there 3 days. When a great thunderstorm arose out of the west, and the lightning and the hail crashed around him, but he remained untouched and unharmed. Though the thunder beings surrounded him, he was deeply at peace. His Crazy Horse awakened to a brilliant morning with the sun seemingly especially and remarkably intense and brilliant. A sparrow hawk circled close above him and spoke to him in a way that was clear and unmistakable. As the hawk's direction, he arose and stood upon Bear Butte to receive one of the greatest visions of the future ever entrusted to his people. His eyes had become like the hawk, and he could see distinctly for what seemed forever across the plains. At first, his eyes were directed to a small village of whites. They were, as usually, hysterically carrying out their daily chores. His heart ached when he saw his own people living in a rundown shacks on the outskirts of the white man's village, hungry and dispirited. His far-seeing vision scanned the scene before him. Things only got worse. He saw 2 Indians lying torpidly in a large puddle of water, the smell of whiskey overpowering. He saw a woman washing clothes in the manner of the white man, not the joy of serving, but with the great weariness that seemed excruciating. His heart filled with compassion, and he longed to fly down and carry the burden for her. But how could this be? Spirit, the defining essence in the Indian, was gone from his people. His crazy horse's heart was sore, his spirit sickened. He knew very well who had caused this: the Wasichu, the ones who took whatever they wanted, callous to any way of life but their own, leaving spirit, reefing bodies in their wake to suffer upon the blossom of grandmother. Angered and anguished, he thought, this cannot come to pass, this living death as the hands of the Wasichu. From the brilliant light, a voice spoke to him. This had to be it. It said, but it will pass away, for all the people of earth must gather together like the geese that fly together in springtime. Watch now and be alert to see. His crazy horse grew peaceful and watched as he had been instructed. He saw not only the downtrodden Indians who through the years of oppression and slaughter had lost their way, but he saw also a few old ones, though with the strength of his grandfathers, maintaining the old ways and the connection to the spirit world. He saw their spirits deeply rooted in grandmother earth and grandfather sky. They taught the few young ones who would listen. The ways of the people were passed on by the few strong ones that remained, and the fragile cord to the past remained unbroken. His crazy horse felt pride and hope as he beheld these precious few. Again, he turned his far-seeing gaze to the boundless prairies. They were no longer the same. Much of the golden and green hair of grandmother was gone. There were strange black ribbons going in every direction. They had not been there before. As his vision intensified, he saw small bugs upon the black ribbons, moving at great speed. What could this be? His crazy horse wondered to himself. The bugs even carried people, and to his amazement, some were even Lakota. Soon, a great darkness spread over the earth. He could hear the agonies of war, see the pain and suffering in their faces of people all over the world as young men died in far-reaching battle. Some of these young men were Lakota. Yes, the young men of earth were fighting each other, and their families wept as they were killed and wounded. When the fighting was over, people could be seen frantically building and building upon grandmother earth. In the skies, he could see great silver birds such as he had never seen before, strange new birds that even appeared to have lights at night. The earth was growing dark again, and soon all the young men were at war again, one that was totally beyond imagination. The noises were unnatural and deafening. He saw one large village completely disappear in a flash of fire and smoke. There was nothing left. It was just gone. After this second Great War, it seemed as though things were getting better for the Indian people. More of them were dancing and doing ceremonies. The men were singing the songs that strengthened the heart, and the women were trilling as in the old days. The strong drinking and substances had deadened the spirit, were being kept away. Things were better, but far from good, and there was still a strong wall between the people and the white man. Once again, the earth seemed to be shrouded in darkness, but this time there was a strong light slowly coming from the east, and before it was the morning star appearing with 9 points. His crazy horse knew that the points were the 9 sacred circles, including the 2 that were yet to come. Out of the death and destruction that had befallen the earth, he saw a sacred herb beginning to grow and blossom. As the dawn grew to encircle the earth, the herb grew into a sacred tree of his people. From the seemingly dead tree, new life was emerging, and the branches full of flowers and singing birds. And below the tree, spirit people and animals were dancing and singing as if they had all the joy in the world, but could not contain it. His crazy horse knew that this glorious world of light was the world of spirit, the real world of his people. This was far-seeing eyes. He also saw the real world of the Wasichu. In it, the people seemed to be mirrored in a swamp and to be sinking in quicksand. The two worlds stood in sharp contrast. The world of spirit and the world of man made struggle and sorrow. But some people on the earthly plane began to see the light of the spirit world and stretched their hands, hearts, and minds towards it. Most, though, chose to remain in the quagmire. Those few who saw the light of the new dawn began to proclaim it to the others, but most turned a deaf ear and chose to remain in the dull and morose state. It was as if they feared the light, but for those ready for the light, beauty began to replace ugliness, and joy and wonder returned to the earth. His crazy horse could see their faces changing, for under the sacred tree they danced in the light, and understanding was beginning to radiate from their being. They were ready for the dawn of a new understanding. The people dancing under the tree were of many kinds and many races. They were not just red people, but black, white, yellow. All kinds of people were radiating the joy that had returned to earth. All his crazy horse could not understand, for at some sacred way, they were all united together, different. The differences were distinct, yet they were all part of a greater circle. This was very much like the relationship of the individual Lakota to his tribe, a distinct, separate individual with an overriding concern for his people, free yet bound to the tribe that gave him life, without which he could not live. And then, of course, he rose from his vision and came down from the butte. Oh, there you go. So that's what he saw in his vision.
And a lot of what that his great grandson had seen with those elders are very much the same thing. I mean, the repetition of the words and the feeling that the native peoples had lost their essence. I mean, when you read that, I was like, oh my God, yeah, because that's what that gentleman spoke about. He said, you know, they're native peoples and they have native heritage, but they all dishonored this one man who was trying to bring a peaceful word to all nations. And
his name wasn't Chasing Deer, was it?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember, but I can see his face clearly. I can hear his words. And he was such a kind gentleman. I just couldn't understand why everybody all these native folks were picking on him. But anyway, those visions are similar to what other folks and myself have kind of seen in that far vision look. That's why they call me Hawkeye. And so in seeing things off in the distance, but one of the things is that, you know, if you even look at the Bible, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. You have to say we are in Revelations, right? We just are.
Yeah.
But it's not the end of the world, because even if you reference the Bible, it says there's going to be 1,000 years of peace. So, okay, but we got to go through the Revelation first, but then we get 1,000 years of peace. So all of these people coming together because of the revelation of the craziness, we could make a better planet. And I wanted to see what's going to happen tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And, you know, because that's part of Crazy Horse's vision.
Well, and then that was kind of weird how he said he's seen the bugs. I think he meant ribbons, like roads with cars and people riding on the bugs, which were cars
and railroad also. But
yeah. And then there's the thing too, is he at the end there, he sees all men, white, black, yellow, red, all, you know, united. Just what you were saying. We got to unite. You know, that guy came, he's saying we all have to get together and unite. We can't just, and he was looking at you saying, well, you're a white guy, but you're uniting with us. You know, you're looking, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't looking at you saying, oh, you're not colored enough. You got to get out. You know, I can't talk to you.
And that's one of the things that some of the I can understand, like the Lakota wanting to keep a true bloodline.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine, he stood 6'4" and wore a bear as a, and it anyway, but he was his mother was half Lakota. Or his mother was white, his father was full blood. So, but when he got married, he married out of the tribe and married a white woman. So when his son was born, he was allowed to stay in the tribe. Now, this is the Lakota out Pine Ridge. But when he turned 18, they tossed him out of the tribe and said, "You're out of here. We let you in until you were 18 years old, but now." And my friend was like, "Wait a minute." He said, "I used to pick on you, Dave, because you found out that my grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmother were all Cherokee. So I don't know what tribe or whatever, but it is in my history. It's in me."
Yeah.
So he kept saying, "You're a Wasichu, that's of the Wanabe tribe, the wannabe. You want to be an Indian, right?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but now here he is, and he came to me and he goes, "I understand, I think, more about what you feel like." He says, "Because my son can't partake in any of the tribal things anymore. Even though I'm his father and I can still do it." He goes, "What is this?" And I said, "See, I don't have enough Cherokee in me, quote, by the tribe standards." So that leaves a lot of people out. Now, there are other sub-tribes who are allowing anybody to come in. Meaning, but there are a lot of people, there's a lot of Black Cherokee down here. And there's a lot of Creek and Seminole and all down here. And Northern Cherokee have moved to the South Cherokee down here in the swamps and stuff. But there, if you say, "Look, my grandmother was Cherokee," or Creek or Muskogee or something, they go, "Come on in. You don't have to have papers."
Yeah. Yeah.
The fact that you want to be part of the tribe without a bunch of hoopla and this, that, and the other thing. No, you understand the meaning of a tribe. You want to be a part of it.
Yep.
And so that's happening now and has been over the last 10, 15 years. So I'm still praying for, I'm still hoping.
Well, yeah, and that's awesome, because you start kicking too many people out, next thing you know, you don't have a tribe left.
Right, but I do see why they want to keep things.
Oh, and that
they would
I
like
understand
to keep
too.
a real true bloodline. But if this person's like down to a third because of marriage or whatever, you're going to kick them out. Now that's just plumb stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's just plumb stupid, because now you are thinning out your own herd.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to allow them to come in. You mean to tell me in the old days there weren't some white women or somebody that intermixed or whatever? I seriously doubt, because of all this intermingling over the many hundreds of years since white man's been here, that there may be fewer true bloodlines than they actually may be.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Well, I did my part. I think it was pretty good this week. I didn't expect to have just that, but I was going to do a bunch of other stuff. But that just carried on. It was good to talk about the prophecy, because people love prophecies, and I think back at some point, or maybe even today, people still have good prophecies. There's good ones and bad ones, but the thing is you can't do a prophecy. And I think what happens is people try to get too many prophecies. You only need a prophecy when you really have a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I saw back when I quote, became Hawkeye Two Feathers in my vision quest, and they showed me that there was going to have to be a lot of pain. There are a lot of people who were just so disconnected and stuff, and that and it had to do Mother Earth. And so when the four horsemen came together and they were having a conversation with this white goddess type person, she said, it's not about revenge, but Mother Earth needs to be replaced. The energy that was taken from her needs to be put back. So if people die because of, and Mother Earth's changing and everything, and if people die or whatever, it's not on purpose to kill them, but there are going to be people who get killed in the process because she has to get repaid. And I thought, well, now that's just an interesting point on that. But that through the pain of it, all of the earth changes and all the socio stuff that's going on, we got to go through the pain in order to figure out we don't like it.
I agree.
And there were people who were going to succumb to it, and they were going to get washed up into it, and they would get their hair tangled into it, and then become part. They would be the first ones knocked off the chart, I guess, or whatever. But folks who were more grounded and understood, they were going to, the meek shall inherit the earth, basically.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is you're going to have 1,000 years of, and I hate to say this because I mean, of peace, right? Where do you get the most peace is when people are prospering, right? And if you're not prospering, or you're already prosperous, you can't have, and I hate to say this because everybody wants to be prosperous, right? But everybody can't be prosperous. No, you have to have some people who are working up the ladder, and you have to have some people at the top of the ladder paying the people at the bottom of the ladder.
And it's the old pyramid scheme. I mean, come on, everybody. It's the old pyramid scheme. It don't work. But here's the thing, when it isn't, it is socially, but it's not socialism. Yeah. There is no ism to it. In the tribe, the hierarchy was the elders. Period. Yeah. Or you earned your coup. That, you got your ranking, you got a feather, you got a whatever, you killed 2 warriors in battle, and so you gained your status, but everybody was equal within the tribe. And so, but white folks just don't get it.
No.
They just don't get it.
No.
So if we go back to that simpler time where everybody's taken care of, it's not about being socialism. The Braves go out, they're stronger and can bring in the food, and grandma's taking care of the kids, and they're showing the younger ones how to sew and how to do things and how to be. And then, and then things change, but everybody's working together within the tribe. I agree. So, but then you'll hear the word tribalism, and it's derogatory. When they say, oh, this tribalism has just got to go. Well, hang on a minute. Wait a minute, but so there are too many things that a lot of prophecies that are coming true right now. And I continue to want to tell folks, just hang on to your pants. Hang on, because, we had another big X flare hit the planet today and disrupted a bunch of the atmosphere. So we're getting clobbered, and somebody say, oh, God's, wreaking havoc on us. Well, it's the sun, but okay. Yeah. And are we getting hammered right now? Yes, we are. Is the planet moving and shifting? Absolutely. We just got to hang on. Yeah. But, one of the things too is these prophecies from a lot of different Hopi and so forth, they all say the same thing. We go through a bad time, but then we learn to bond together again. Every one of them has turmoil and nastiness, but that they all at the end see it coming together. That's
Well,
what I find amazing. And we should focus on the coming together.
yeah. And right now, I hate to say it, but everybody is apart. They're growing apart. I mean, we may all be together on the computer, and this will stick for some people that know what I'm talking about right now. You know, we all know each other on the computer. And I know you, David, and I know a bunch of people that have been on the computer. And I talk with you, call you people, email, whatever, but I really don't know you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then we're all kind of connected, but disconnected at the same time. We have our, you know, as soon as I hang up the phone or shut off the computer and I don't see you anymore, I have my own life. And you people don't know about it.
Right.
Like in the chat here earlier, they were talking about Linda Brooks says, "Oh, I got my PJs on already," you know, and blah, 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 blah. And she's laughing because I wasn't in there. And she says, "But I come in and fill in, but I got my PJs on." And then we said something about, I said, "Well, let's have an all girl slumber party Zoom night on Milky Way Soul Tribe. Wouldn't that be cool?" I says, "You don't know it, but I already got my PJs on." You know, look at that, you know, but you don't know because, you know, you only see the top half of me. So, you know, so see how deceiving the computer-y stuff is. We're deceiving the world in a way. I mean, we're still here and you see me and I put on the Milky Way shirt and then I wear my PJs underneath because I got to go to bed, you know, as soon as I get done. Let's see, what did I especially, I got to go back here just a second. Okay, here's something I want to address. Linda Brooks says, "But if Christianity isn't the goal isn't the goal not to inherit the earth, you would want to be one of the meek." And I'm thinking, yeah, you want to be one of the meek shall inherit the earth. Isn't that how it's quoted? And I know some rich guy said that. He says, "Be meek, and sure enough, you'll inherit the earth 6 foot under." Isn't that so true though? Because you're going to be the first to hit the ground because you don't have anything. And that's what us, you know, I really think we all, I hate to say this because I'm in this entrapment too. We're all in this what about goods and things like he was talking. We're so interested in the things we have that we haven't really thought of anything else. And we're losing touch with earth. And I'm sad for that because I am too. I think a lot of people are. You may think, "Oh, I'm right in there." And no, you're not. You live in a house, you drive a car, you have electricity, you go buy things at the store. You know, when was the last time that half of you people actually put your feet on the ground and dug your toes into the ground and felt the earth? And when was the last time you actually went out and grabbed a piece of tree branch and made it into something, or you know, picked some dandelions and actually ate them, you know, and made a lettuce salad? Not me, I says, you know, and ate natural stuff instead of stuff that's been sprayed with chemicals. And you say, "Oh, I only buy organic, blah, blah, blah." But you know what? You didn't buy all organic. And then everything you bought was covered in plastic. You know, I could just go on and on and on. And you bought some car from Japan and you're watching this computer that was made with slave labor in some foreign country. And they just poured the chemicals and crap out on the ground. And I could go on and on and on. But I know you people are smart enough. You all know this already. And, you know, Crazy Horse, he said it. He said it way better than I could.
And Chief, what's his name, from the Nez Perce, who said, "I will die no more," wrote a book or something. Also Sitting Bull, he said many of the same things, you know, way back then. And so it wasn't like there was something in the air in the great mystery. And they all felt it in relatively the same time without talking on the telephone. You know what I mean? and they knew it. They literally could see it coming.
Yeah, they could.
And so well, we're here now, at part of this. And but one of the interesting things, and I talked about it last night when I did talked about some stuff, that people are seeing the value of planting something, and they're, two friends of mine now separately, without talking to each other, are into the same kind of little chicken tractor thing, and got eggs and chickens and, rolls across the ground and all that kind of thing. And so, but both friends of mine, but they don't talk to each other, but they're both doing the same thing. So, and, they see the value in having their own fresh eggs. And if you can't get anything and things get tight, and there are some empty shelves, in some of these stores. So, but the comfort is, if you've got something that y'all can gather some eggs and it gets really tight, you can make a quiche. You can do a lot of stuff with eggs versus kill the chickens to eat them. And so, but people are taking back their lives by doing everybody's doing the chicken trap. Oh, okay. I don't care if you think it's a fad and you want to try it, but the thing is, you're taking part of your life back. Like the old timers did and the pioneers, because you were going to talk about pioneers and the mountain men.
And so a whole thing on this about and I probably get to it next week. Everything from leather work, they were doing leather work to I got a lot of these marked here. At least I marked them this time. Mountain Man's sheath, a horn liner for his sheath. The Mountain Man and making a fire and a shelter. Simple stuff, all made out of wood. A Mountain Man's boat. Remember we were talking about boats and canoes once? Well, the Mountain Man, they were fashioned as if like a grapefruit with buffalo hides. Oh, just like the Indian ones. And most of the mountain men were very similar to the Indians because they got all their information from them. They learned from the Indians how to be an Indian, and then they were mountain men.
But the one thing they had going for them was they had pots and pans, and they had steel knives, where the native folks, a lot of them were still using flint knives and things. They didn't have steel. It took a while for steel to get around everywhere. But some of the natives had to steal the steel, but
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyway.
So what do you got for us tonight? No, enough of my roundaboutness, but what do you got for us tonight? Let me pull this stuff up. And
I was trying to see how much, I've got this one picked out, Hopi Boy in the Sun, and it's about 4 pages. It's not real long, so.
Okay. Let me get this up here. What page is it?
145. All right, let me find my other glasses and get a drink.
Okay, you just do that. I got a new, oops.
Ooh, that helped.
How did I do that? Huh. I got this new clicker mouse thing, and ooh, it's doing all kinds of stuff here. Huh. Okay. Woo! It's flying all over the place. Huh. I hit the wrong button. I got too many clickers on this new mouse. 49. 48. The little wheel clicks. That's what it is. 45. Sorry, I'm a little slow here. I gotta make this smaller. That's what it is. There, the Hopi Boy in the Sun.
Yes.
All right. Okay, I got it. Let me get back
I
over
don't
here.
think I've done this one,
No, I do
but
not
we've
remember.
done, this is 29 shows now.
Yeah.
And so, and I know I've done 3 or 4 on some of the earlier shows. So we've done a lot of stories.
Yes, we have. We're gonna have to get you a new book.
I'm trying to get into those, some that you sent to me on the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to pick some out of there. So
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, there's a lot of them on there too, and there's also, I got to send this other book out to you too. I want to copy it up. I just haven't had time. Sorry, I work a lot, but hey,
that's okay.
that's what pays the bills.
There you go. You got to get that gold.
Yeah, I got to get the gold. We're all striving for the gold.
All right, so here we go, right?
Yep.
With a 3, 2, 1. Let me get another little sip. The Hopi Boy and the Sun. Where cultures overlap, as in areas of the Southwest, with its mixture of Hispanic, Pueblo, and nomadic traditions, legends are often modified and reshaped in the retelling. This story, related in 1920 by a Zuni elder who may have been part Hispanic, gives a curious twist to Hopi tales of the sun. Besides the traditional Hopi elements, such as the trail of sacred cornmeal and the sun's fox skin, it embodies the fear and antagonism felt by the Pueblo farmers toward the marauding nomadic tribes. At the same time, it is full of things unknown to the Pueblos before the coming of the Spaniards, such as peaches, silver, bracelets, and the ocean itself. A poor Hopi boy lived with his mother's mother. The people treated him with contempt and threw ashes and sweepings into his grandmother's house, and the two were very unhappy. One day, he asked his grandmother who his father was. "My poor boy, I don't know," she replied. "I must find him," the boy said. "We can't stay in this place. The people treat me too badly." "Grandchild, you must go and see the sun. He knows who your father is." On the following morning, the boy made a prayer stick and went out. Many young men were sitting on the roof of the kiva, the underground ceremonial chamber. They sneered when they saw him going by, though one of them remarked, "Better not make fun of him. I believe the poor little boy has supernatural power." The boy took some sacred meal made of pounded turquoise, coral, shell, and cornmeal and threw it upwards. It formed a trail leading into the sky, and he climbed it until the trail gave out. He threw some more of the sacred meal upward, and a new trail formed. After he had done this 12 times, he came to the sun, but the sun was too hot to approach. So the boy put new prayer sticks into the hair and at the back of his head, and the shadow of their plumes protected him from the heat. "Who is my father?" he asked the sun. "All children conceived in the daytime belong to me," the sun replied. "But as for you, who knows? You are young and have much to learn." The boy gave the sun a prayer stick, and falling down from the sky, landed back in his village. On the following day, he left home and went westward, hoping to begin learning. When he had come to the place where Holbrook, Arizona now stands, he saw a cottonwood tree and chopped it down. He cut it length of the tree to his own height, hollowed it out, and made a cover for each end. And then he put it in some sweet cornmeal and prayer sticks and decided he was ready to go traveling. Climbing into the box, he closed the door and rolled himself into the river. The box drifted for 4 days and 4 nights until finally he felt it strike the shore at a place where 2 rivers join. He took the plug out of the peephole he had made and saw the morning light. But when he tried to get out, he couldn't open the door. No matter how hard he pushed, he thought he would have to die inside. In the middle of the afternoon, a rattlesnake girl came down to the river. When she discovered the box, she took off her mask and looked into the peephole. "What are you doing here?" she asked the boy. "Open the door, I can't get out," he said. The girl asked, "How can I open it?" "Take a stone and break it." So the girl broke the door, and when the Hopi Boy came out, she took him to her house. Inside, he saw many people, young and old, men and women, and they were all rattlesnakes. "Where are you going?" they asked him. "I want to find my father," the boy replied. And the girl said, "You can't go alone. I'll go with you." She made a small tent of rattlesnake skins and carried it to the river. They crawled into the tent and floated for 4 days and 4 nights. Finally, they reached the ocean, and there they saw a meteor fall into the sea on its way home to the house of the sun. They asked the meteor to take them along. In this manner, they reached the sun's house, where they found an old woman working on turquoise, coral, and white shell. She was the moon, the mother of the sun. "Where is my father?" the boy asked. "He's gone out," the moon replied, "but he will be home soon." The sun arrived in the evening, and the old woman gave him venison and wafer bread. After he had eaten, he asked the boy, "What do you want here?" The boy replied, "I want to know my father." "I think you are my son, and when I go into the other world, you shall accompany me." The son said this time, and early the next morning he said, "Let's go." He opened a door in the ground, and they went out. Seating himself on a stool of crystal, the son took a fox skin and held it up. Daylight appeared. After a while, he put the fox skin down and held up the tail feathers of a macaw, and the yellow rays of sunrise streamed out. When at last he let them down, he said to the boy, "Now, let's go." The son made the boy sit behind him on the stool, and they went out into another world. After traveling for some time, they saw people with long ears. Lakoti Inaekwe. They used their ears as blankets to cover themselves when they slept. The son remarked, "If bluebird droppings fall on those people, they die." "How is that possible?" the boy said. "How can people be killed that way? Let me kill the birds." The son said, "Go ahead, I'll wait." The boy jumped down, took a small cedar stick, and killed the bluebirds. Then he roasted them over a fire and ate them. The people shouted, "Look at this boy. He's eating the Navajos." "No," said the boy, "those aren't Navajos, they're birds." Then he went back to the sun, and they traveled on. About noon, they came to another town. The son said, "Look, the Apache are coming to make war on the people." The boy saw a whirlwind moving along. When wheat straw was blown against the legs of the people, they fell dead. "How can people be killed by wheat straw?" he said. "Let me go down and tear it up." The son said, "I'll wait." The boy jumped down, gathered the wheat straw, and tore it up. The people said, "Look at this boy, how he kills the Apache." "These aren't Apache," the boy said. "They're wheat straws." Then he went back to the sun. They came to another town where the Hopi Boy saw people with very long hair reaching down to their ankles. They had a large pot with onions tied to its handle. Inside it, thin mush was cooking and boiling over. And when it hit a person, he died. The son said, "Look at that Jicara Apache, how they kill people." No, said the boys, that's not Jakara Apache. It's mush. I'll go down and eat it. The son said, I'll wait. Then the boy jumped down, dipped the mush out of the pot, took the onions from the handles, and ate the mush with the onions. The people said, look how this boy eats the brains, the hands and feet of the Jakara Apache. The boy said, this isn't Jakara Apache, it's corn mush. Come and eat with me. No, they said, no. We are not cannibals. We don't eat Apache warriors. Then the boy went back to the son and they traveled on. Finally, they came to the house of the son in the east, where the son's sister gave them venison stew for supper. After they had eaten, the son said to his sister, wash my son's head. The son's sister took a large dish, put water and yucca suds into it, and washed the boy's head and body. Then she gave him new clothing, the same kind that the son was wearing, buckskin trousers, blue moccasins, blue bands of yarn to tie under the knees, a white sash and belt of fox skin, turquoise and shell earrings, a white shirt, silver arm rings, bead bracelets, and a bead necklace. She put macaw feathers in his hair and a miha, sacred blanket, over his shoulder, and gave him a quiver of mountain lion skin. Then the son told him, go ahead, I'm going to follow you. The boy opened the door in the ground and went out. He sat down on the crystal stool, took the fox skin and held it up to create the dawn. Then he put it down and raised the macaw feathers, holding them up with the palms of his hands stretched forward until the yellow rays of sunrise appeared. After that, he dropped his hands and went on into the upper world. As he did, the people of Laguna, Isleta, and other eastern pueblos looked eastward and sprinkled sacred cornmeal. The son behind him said, look at the trails of life of the people. Some are short, others are long. Look at this one. He is near the end of his trail. He's going to die soon. The boy saw an Apache coming, and in a short time, the Apache had killed that man whose trail had been so short. The Hopi Boy said to the son, let me go and help these people. I'll wait, the son replied. So the boy jumped down into the territory where the Laguna people were fighting the Apache. He told the people to wet their arrow points with saliva and hold them up to the sun, for this would help them in battle. The boy himself killed 10 Apaches and then went back to his father. They traveled on, and when they saw a group of Navajos setting out to make war on the Zuni, the boy killed them. He and his father crossed the land of his own people, the Hopi, and then came to the Mexican territory. A Mexican was playing with his wife, and when the son saw them, he threw the Mexican aside and cohabitated with the woman. I don't need a wife, he told his son, because all women on earth belong to me. If a couple cohabitates during the day, I interfere as I just did. So I am the father of all children conceived in the daytime. In the evening, the son entered his house in the west. By then, the boy wanted to go back to his own people. So the son's mother made a trail of sacred flower, and the boy and the rattlesnake woman went back eastward over it. At noon, they came to the rattlesnake's home. The rattlesnake woman said, I want to see my father and mother. After that, let's go on. They entered the house, and she told her relatives that the Hopi Boy was her husband. Then they resumed their journey. That evening, they arrived in the Hopi village. The boy made straight for his grandmother's house, but an old chief said, look at the handsome man going into that poor home. He invited the boy into his own house, but the boy replied, no, I'm going here. The war chief said, we don't want you in that dirty house. The house is mine, the boy replied, so tell your people to clean it up. When all of you treated me badly, I went up to the sun and he helped me. On the following evening, the boy appeared before a village council and told all that had happened to him. You must teach the people how to act rightly. The sun says that you should forbid all bad actions. The people accepted his words and everyone worked hard at cleaning his house. In return, the boy gave peaches, melons, and wafer bread to the poor. Every evening after sunset, the women would come with their dishes and he would offer them venison stew and peaches. He said to the chief, I teach the people the right way to live. Even if you are my enemy, I must show you how to behave well. Twin children, a boy and a girl, were born to his wife. They had the shape of rattlesnakes, but they were also humans, based on a legend reported by Franz Boas in 1922.
Well, there you go.
Well, that didn't take me too long to read, did it?
No, okay. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah, and you know, there have been other rattlesnake stories, you know, where the boy that took him up and he got bit, but then he became part of the Rattlesnake Clan. And
yeah,
you know,
I remember that one. I like that one. That was good.
Yeah, so it's interesting. And as the beginning of the preamble of this thing, you know, the silver and the melons and so forth, when, you know, where them folks in the Southwest out in the middle of the desert get that, but you know, they really hated the travelers that went through and devastated their lands. And so and I can just imagine, you know, you're growing some corn and everything's groovy, you know, and about that time, you know, you're going to harvest it or whatever, a bunch of banditos come through and leave you with nothing and burn your barn, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is so true. Oh, let's see. No, I'm driving the bus. So you got a card for us tonight?
Yeah, I'm reaching for them now.
All right, good deal. I am pulling things back up where they were because I don't want the computer to shut down during all that. I figured we'll make it through. We'll make it through. I'm driving the bus. I just wanted to say while you're finding that, I'm going to say hi to everybody. Deborah Sloan's in the house. Michelle Can-Am Free, our love girl. Much love to you, Michelle Can-Am Free. Julie Stowe is in the house. She says, I'll wait. Scotty Boy. Yeah, Scotty Boy's in the house. Crack a beer for me, too. Anyway, yes, let's see. Linda Brooks. I says Linda Brooks was here earlier. Susie Q's still in the house. Yay. Oh, there I am. Huh. Yeah, I'm watching on my phone and thing, and I had to shut this part down. Ella Berry's in the house. Nicholas Burnett. Lucky Smith was there in the house. So he's probably still watching. Hey, Lucky. This is my neighbor who treated their lawn is full of dandelions, and me never use anything on my lawn. We'd feel a couple of dandelions. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if they just put dandelion seed in that stuff to make them grow, so you buy more spray. You know, that's what it is. Oh, anyway, I'm learning so much. You know, I really enjoy these days because, you know, we find out so much good information. And I enjoy reading, and makes me want to go out and read these books more, you know, so I do. I read a lot I wish I could just sit down and read, but instead I read a little here and a little there.
But, you know, those are the lessons that Spirit brings us in, you know, along the way when we need them. You pick up a book and all of a sudden you're like, oh, crap, I didn't know that. And you know, something comes along and it's just enlightens you somehow. That is just
you know, and I you're right. I swear that my inside spirit already knows what I'm going to read or what I should read. And it's like, see how thick this book is? I picked it up, did the pages like that. And the next thing you know, I was to this thing and I come up and it says, hey, it says prophecies. And without knowing what I was going to read, I started reading this and I read the first page, the second page, and I was starting to be like, hey, this is interesting. And the next thing you know, it says they're talking about Crazy Horse. Now, what's the chances that I would pick up a book and they would start talking about Crazy Horse? You see what I'm saying? It's just,
yeah.
I'm like, that is
It's
too
those,
coincidental.
yeah, that's, you know, those kind of things in the universe that you go, okay, I hear you. You know, yeah, it's too coincidental. The synchronicity or whatever people want to call it, but you know, that's your spirit guide or your higher self, and you're listening. You're paying attention. Ooh, there's a lesson right here. I'm going to read it in this book, and you do, and that's part of the shaman and training thing, is that you allow yourself to be drawn towards things, and you, like for you, it's all been good. Some folks are drawn to the evil side and witchcraft and things like that, but then for those of us, you know, we're more interested in this. So
yeah, well, and that's the thing, is I'm realizing that people, humans, there aren't very many strong-willed people, and or I don't even know if that's the right word for it, just strong, with strong heart. And I don't even know if there's people out there, you know, but very few that are strong. I don't even know if I'm strong, but you were talking about like spirits or whatever, and people, you know, I've been reading about the bright ones and the dark ones, and it's like, to do that stuff, you got to be strong, because those things are really strong. It's like going up to and playing chess with a master chess player, and you're just a beginner. Who's gonna win? And then once he kicks your butt, you signed over your pink slip to him. Put it that way.
yeah, don't bet the house.
Yeah, exactly, because it's one of those games that if you play with the wrong spirits out there, they kick your ass and it'll take you over and you're done. That's the end of you. I mean,
And whether they take you over, they can kick your ass, and that in and of itself is a good reason to stay out of that.
well,
You know,
and the thing is they're going to kick your ass over and over and over and over again, and you can't, you know, and then once they beat you down, yeah, I've been reading that, or read that book, the Crystal Palace, or the Tower of the Ivory Tower of the Mind, or something, that, man, it's about schizophrenia and personalities and things like that. And it's really interesting because it does talk about these, and they're really, you know, they're entities. That these people aren't plagued, he says, by you know, something, you know, in their fuzzy head or something. It's an entity who's playing with them, and they're just not strong enough to push it away or say, shut up, go away, I don't want to listen to you, I'm gonna make up my own mind. And then therefore it keeps playing with them and playing with them until it beats them down. And then of course they give them drugs and stuff like that to these people, and it kind of dims the voices. But as soon as the drugs wear off, the voices are back telling them, you know, and that's the bad part.
and having been in the mental health system for a bunch of years, like over 25 years myself, and having had several, you know, incidents, and they would change your medicine. Well, this will make you feel better. And I swear, after looking back on things, different attitudes and mindsets and whatever, I'd be humming along and doing just fine. And they'd say, well, Mr. Null, you know, the doctor or psychiatrist recommends this new drug. And so they put you on this new drug. And I swear, I think that it changes your frequency so that these entities are drawn to you on purpose. Because I've had a lot of friends, I mean, 30-ish plus, in who are in a similar mental health situation. I mean, we'd meet on Thursdays to all get our meds and sit out there in the front lobby and chew the fat. But to the point though, we got to talking about our meds and how they made us feel between each other. And then we started realizing, wait a minute, you know, blah, 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 blah. You have this too? Yeah. Well, then why am I taking this?
Yeah.
So many of us got off of it, but I swear, and we had discussed this amongst ourselves years ago, that it seemed like, you know, it actually made us worse, where we were trying to combat our bipolar or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it literally changed our frequencies by taking these meds, and they would always want to increase them. And I always scratched my head and said, why? If this drug is working for me, but I'm only taking half of it, but I've done real good this last year, and you want to stop it, take me off of it, put me on something else, and you want me to have a stable mental condition. Now, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I got some cards laying out.
All right, you go right ahead. Let's see what you got. What do you got in your deck of cards there?
It's an interesting little layout here. Squirrel.
Okay.
Is gathering.
Squirrel, you got the picture? I'll put you up on speaker. Go ahead, show it to everybody.
Well, I can't get a good picture of it.
That's good enough.
Squirrel, you have gathered nuts by the score, exactly predicting if you'll need more. Teach me to take no more than I need, trusting the great mystery to harvest the seed. Now, Squirrel teaches you to plan ahead for the winter. When the trees are bare, the nuts have long since disappeared. Squirrel medicine can come in many forms, as this furry little creature is very diverse in nature. The erratic behavior of squirrel has bested many a forlorn hunter, and it thus stands to reason that there are benefits for being able to circle a branch at lightning speed. This erratic behavior of squirrel can also get nerve-wracking. If you are dealing with persons who have squirrel medicine, trying to calm them down enough to accomplish something may drive you nuts. The gathering power of squirrel medicine is a great gift. It teaches you how to gather and to store your energy for times of need. It teaches you to reserve something for future use, whether it be a judgment, an opinion, a savings account, candles, or extra food. To put it in a nutshell, squirrel is the Boy Scout of the animal kingdom, always prepared. In today's world of changing times and fortune, it is the wise person who prepares for the future. Our prophecies have all spoken of the end of the millennium and of the changes to come. Squirrel is a friendly medicine to have in light of the possible future rainy days. Its message is to be prepared, but not to go nuts with it. Love yourself enough to gather the goods that will meet your needs in times of scarcity, even if that time never comes. If squirrel is carried into your cards today, it may be that you are being told to honor your future by readying yourself for change. The message could be to lighten your load if you have gathered too many things that do not serve you. These things can include thoughts, worries, pressures, stressors, or gadgets that have been broken for years. In understanding the balance involved in gathering, you need to look at the idea of circulating the stock of what you already have gathered. Call the nearest thrift store and give the gadgets to someone who might benefit. If it no longer grows corn for you, then it is time to let it go. Squirrel has another lesson which can aid you if you observe what is obvious and which can prepare you for anything. It has to do with the safe place in which to put your gatherings. The safe place is an untroubled heart and mind, and that which is gathered to put in this place is wisdom and caring. The energies gathered will set your mind, heart, and heart free so that you will know that all will be taken care of in its own time. Apply this to your fears about the future and they will vanish. Now that's some interesting. We were talking about prophecies and crazy horse. Now,
I know. I swear, one of these days you're going to have to pull the cards first and then put them to the side.
I have done that, but not recently. But
do the show and then see how the cards match up. Yeah, I know I remember you doing that, but it's like, and you didn't like pull them out while you were talking because you were reading your story. We know but it's just funny. It's just funny how they do line up.
Now, the squirrel is upside down, but it was sort of ambiguous. And so, but, this idea that the energies gathered will set your mind and heart free so that you will know that all will be taken care of in its own time. Apply this to your fears about the future and they will vanish. Now, the contrary medicine of squirrel is the hoarder, a fearful person who expects the worst and is stuck in waiting. Waiting for something to happen is the trap. No action equals stagnation. But a little of squirrel's erratic energy might get things moving. If squirrel is hanging upside down on your branch, you may have begun seeing the world through opposites, hoarding your thoughts of abundance so that fear of scarcity takes hold. You may ask yourself, have I denied my ability to produce enough space for abundance to enter my life? Have I denied my connection to Mother Earth, from whom all things flow? In moving too fast, have I taken on the erratic nature of a squirrel without having any focus? Am I leaking my energy on worry instead of gathering power through being prepared? Remember, one of the squirrel family gathered the energy of eagle and connected to the Great Spirit. Now this squirrel can fly. That's an interesting card. Man, yes. Oh man, can they pick them.
Yeah, I know. We haven't had squirrel in like forever.
No, but for the message, because right now, even in what I talked about last night was, the fear and loathing on planet Earth. Everything is fear, everything is hate, everything, and we got to stop that mess. We really do. Yeah. And if we start with our own hearts, and here's squirrel medicine saying, if you gather positive things, it'll set you free, basically.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things and that's the thing is, like today, I'll put it in simple terms. I was having a pretty good day, and about 3/4 of the day through, I started picking up that negative stuff. Everything that came my way was like, even if it was good, it felt negative. And I just kept bundling and bundling and bundling. And then even when I was trying to get done and I'm working hard, I'm thinking I'm going to turn this around, make it a positive day. A rock hit my passenger side window on my truck and cracked it. And I'm like, oh, and that was a headache. And of course, then I had to go through a bunch of hoops and plus everything else. And I'm like, oh no, this is just going downhill and downhill. And then time was going by so fast. And I'm thinking, and then next thing you know, I'm doing the show. I'm thinking, where did all my time go?
It got gobbled up, didn't it?
Yeah. And so like it says, if it wasn't for this show kind of building me back up, it was kind of like a bummer of the day, but
Well, here's our next card.
Okay.
We haven't had this one in a while. Bat. Number 42. Oh, I got to put my other glasses on. I need my bifocals. Well, this requires 2 pairs of glasses. Sacred bat flew to me from the darkness of the cave. Womb-like reflections, answers it gave. Birth, death, rebirth, cycles of the whole, never ending, just eclipsed, the journey of the soul. Steeped in the mystery of the Mesoamerican tribal ritual is the legend of Bat, akin to the ancient Buddhist belief in reincarnation in Central America. Bat is the symbol of rebirth. Now, we just had squirrel, and now the rebirth and prophecies, and anyway, rebirth. The bat has for a century been a treasured medicine of the Aztec, the Toltec, of the Tolucan, and the Mayan peoples. That embraces the idea of shamanistic death. The ritual death of the healer is steeped in secrets and highly involved initiation rites. Shaman death is a symbolic death of the initiate to the old ways of life and personal identity. The initiation that brings the right to heal and to be called shaman is necessarily preceded by ritual death. Most of these rituals are brutally hard on the body, mind, and the spirit. In light of today's standards, it can be very difficult to find a person who can take the abuse and come through it with their balance intact. The basic idea of ancient initiation was to break down all the former notions of self that were held by the shaman to be. This could entail brutal test of physical strength and psychic ability, and having every emotional button pushed hard. Taunting and spitting on the initiative was common, and taught him or her to endure the duress with humility and fortitude. The final initiation step was to be buried in the earth for one day and to be reborn without former ego in the morning. This ritual is very similar to the night of fear practiced by natives of Turtle Island. In this ritual, the shaman to be is sent to a certain location to dig his or her grave and spend the night in the womb of Mother Earth totally alone, with the mouth of the grave covered by a blanket. Darkness and the sounds of the animals prowling quickly confront the initiative with his or her own fears. As the darkness of the grave has its place in this ritual, so does the cave of Bat. Hanging upside down is a symbol for learning to transpose yourself, your former self, into a newborn being. This is also the position that babies assume when they enter the world through the womb of a woman. If Bat has appeared in your cards today, it symbolizes the need for a ritualistic death of some way of life that no longer suits your new growth pattern. This can mean a time of letting go of old habits and of assuming the position in life that prepares you for rebirth, or in some cases, initiation. In every case, that signals rebirth of some part of yourself or the death of old patterns in your life. If you resist your destiny, it can be a long, drawn out, or painful death. The universe is always asking you to grow and become your future. To do so, you must die the shaman's death. Now, they want me to read something that's in the contrary. Bat upside down can also imply that in the reversal of your natural cycle of rebirth, you're trying to go at life in a backwards mode. This is a breech birth in a sense. This type of occluded understanding of how to go about freeing yourself can lead to a stillbirth. If you struggle too long in the birth canal, the final outcome can be death of the body. Some people think themselves into a corner. They want me to read this part again. Some people think themselves into a corner with obstacles that are illusionary. You dream up something, oh my God, it's going to be this, and you literally think yourself into a corner. By the time they decide what to do, the opportunities are gone and old age is upon them. All of your dreams have passed by. A reverse bat says to use your mind your courage and strength to ensure an easy labor and quickly delivery into your new state of understanding and growth. But it is all about rebirth. So if you're having a lot of trouble and in your rebirth, maybe you're going at it literally sideways, and so but you can straighten it out. If you are concerned with today and tomorrow, but not much further, you may forget to see further down the road. Tribal teachings say that you are responsible for future generations because you are the ancestors of the future. Whatever you do today will affect the next 7 generations. Every decision, every thought is to create a state of stagnation or rebirth for those that follow on the good red road. If you are blocking yourself, you may be blocking the generations to come. That flies at night. In the night are reborn your dreams. These are the dreams that build future civilization. So nourish them well. That's some interesting insight with these 2 cards tonight. And going along with Crazy Horse and the predictions and prophecies and,
Well, I totally agree.
One of us, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You were talking about, that card was talking about backing yourself into the corner. I mean, who hasn't done that? I've talked myself into, oh my God, this is an unwinnable situation. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I can't do anything. I'm like, I'm playing a chess game and I'm on my last piece. And sometimes you got to step back and you go, okay, well, when you're at the bottom of the barrel, the only way to go then is up. You got the whole barrel to fill it up, and you got to be at, sometimes you have to be, and I've seen this. I had a friend of mine, and he had to be at the bottom of the barrel so he could get better. But, on the way down, he could not see that he was falling down. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And
for those of us who have hit the bottom, and I've kind of sort of hit bottom and then a little deeper, I wasn't satisfied with hitting it at 3 foot. I had to go to 4, then to 5, and then level up to 6 foot. I had to go the whole distance. But the thing is though that when you hit the bottom, there is only way up, but that's not the answer. No, because some people just choose never to get back up. They stay there.
And that's true.
So,
that's true.
But the old expression is, well, there's only one way to go, and that's up. That's not true. When you're in the bottom of that hole, sometimes you just don't have the energy, don't have the faith, don't have the gumption or whatever to get up, and they just stay there.
Well, yeah, but I mean but that's so true. The question is what is your bottom? And if you may, or they may think that I'm at the bottom, they're really not at the bottom. See, that's really what I'm saying, is that's really not the bottom, because they refuse to change. Or, hey, I've lost everything, I'm living on the street, but then they're okay with it. Well, then they really haven't hit the bottom. What is going to be worse? Because they're okay. They're at a place and a point in their life then where, hey, this is good. This is good enough for me.
Right. Well, there's getting by, and then there's, just giving up.
Yeah.
And so the many folks that I've met over the years, some of them were worth millions at one time that ended up living under a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than compromise, they just gave up. I mean, literally, nope, I'm just going to stay in the hole. I don't care. If I can't have that degree of what I had before, then I don't want to settle for nothing.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, but that's a personal and individual decision that people have to make. But what's important is it takes courage.
Yes. It
takes courage to take that next step.
Yes.
Sometimes it takes courage just to stand still for a minute, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And to take in and look at the sights and,
Well, don't
reassess.
step out into traffic because you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, a bus will come around the corner and you're done for.
Yes.
Sometimes you need to stand on the curb and wait for the light to change.
some people take life too slow and some people go too fast.
Yeah, without paying attention because they're in such a rush to get there.
Yeah.
But with the message of Squirrel tonight, I know that I have hoarded things over the years, and it's a continuation for me. But at the same time, there needs to be some gathering for some people. But, because of shortages and things. But at the same point, you cannot be greedy. Mm-hmm. If like the other day when I was in the store, I've got coffee, but there was like one coffee left on the shelf. And I said, I went ahead and bought it. And I kind of felt guilty because I do have coffee here at the house once a month, whether I'm out or not. I buy a thing of coffee, and I probably got enough for a year. If I was to, spread it out, I could have coffee every day. But, knowing that months ago that there was going to be a coffee shortage, I was like, man, everybody else has had theirs. There's one left on the shelf for me. I'm going to take it. It's a different kind, and it's that time of month. I buy one a month. So here it is, not trying to be greedy, but am I though? Because I have stored up.
Yeah. But how do you know that one wasn't left there for you? Versus now if there was 2 or 3 left there and you says, look, 2 or 3, I'm going to take them all. See, that's the difference. But there's one.
But I still feel guilty though, is my point. Like, did somebody else need this more? And I was like, I can't look at it that way.
No.
Because it's once a month as I buy, this is what I buy. And it's that time of the month. I'm going to buy it. It's not because I'm trying to be greedy,
I agree.
But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I didn't know if you were finished. You finished that?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, well, you got a show coming up tonight yet?
Maybe.
Maybe.
We've gone so long tonight.
Man, it gets longer and longer. But we had
Robert. Thank you.
I know this has been a good show. I gotta get to bed. I gotta go to work tomorrow. So I just wanted to say thanks to everybody. Thank you everybody for staying for such a long show. We had people come and people go, and we had people. Brandy Robinson come to join us, and Susie Q and Deborah Truax. Thank you for coming. I don't think I missed anybody here that I missed before, but they're here now and whatever. But anyway, thank you, David, for another great show. As always, we learned a lot, and the cards do not let me and you down, and neither and anybody. They stuck to their, I got a lesson to teach, and I'm going to pin it on whatever, because I pick these things out randomly too. I swear.
Yeah, but boy, the lessons are sure there, ain't they?
Yes, they are.
Man. And it's gratifying to know that, that I can be a conduit for messages, because, I'm fiddling with the cards and I ain't trying to pay in, I want this one. No, I just let them come up as they do. But every dang time since we've been doing it, man, it gets spot on. So I thank the creator and the universe and the great mystery. And, I always say to people, continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. Because, there are messages that come to us all the time. So there you go. All the time. Thank you, Robert.
Well, thank you. And with that, be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. I love you all, and have a great night. We'll see you on Thursday. Yes, this Thursday, the next time. Okay, cheers. Peace, everybody. And there we go, another